A while back, I beat Dishonored 1 and 2 without powers, and I thought it was high time I did the opposite. So today I ask, can you beat Dishonored 2 only using powers? Here are the rules. I'm only allowed to deal damage using powers, with one exception that I'll go over in a sec. Let's get started. After placing a rose on her mother's memorial, Emily learns an important life lesson. When success comes a-knocking, so do the unhinged family members wanting a slice of the pie. But as it turns out, her aunt doesn't just want a slice, she wants every last crumb. This time, I decided to let Corvo take the reins. Unfortunately though, Delilah saps him of all his powers, so this first mission is the exemption to the rules, because I don't have any powers yet. Now, I know some of you are going to say, why didn't you just play through it on Mission Plus? But if I do that, then I won't have to get any of the runes, as I will have all the upgrades from the get-go, which to me kinda goes against the point of the run, because collecting runes to unlock and upgrade powers is part of the experience. So I can't progress without knocking Gordon Ramsay's teeth out and locking him in the Royal Vault. Now, I'm unsure whether or not knocking someone out damages their health, but just to be on the safe side, I decided to make this mission, and only this mission, exempt from the rules. After hitching a ride on a train, I board the dreadful whale, then Gerard Way gives my powers back. Now the run can really begin. After watching Megan hit the peace pipe, then allowing her to sail under the influence, I surprisingly arrive at my destination safely. But before I can continue with the main quest, I decided to nab some runes so I can get the devouring swarm power, because as it stands, I have no way of dealing damage at the minute. After collecting some at a shrine, I buy my new power and test it out on an unsuspecting overseer. Along with grabbing as many runes as I can, I'm also simultaneously collecting bone charms, because there's some specific ones I want to get. Spirit water, which gives me the ability to recover mana from drinking out of taps, and gutter feast, which gives me the ability to recover mana from eating white rats. Now, bone charms are randomly generated from a large list of them, so there's a chance they might not even spawn. You can kind of cheese this by quick saving before you get on the skiff and reloading after picking one up in the level, but I can't be arsed with that because it takes the piss. So I'm just going to keep picking them up until I get them, or don't get them. After making my way to the tram station, I use my rats to get rid of the guards. As it stands, they're pretty weak at the minute, so I had to spawn them multiple times as the guards kept on killing them repeatedly. Once they've been completely devoured, I hitch a ride to the Addermire Institute to kill the Crown Killer and find out the location of Anton Solikov. After quite a few unsuccessful attempts at stealth that I refuse to take any responsibility for because I now have an army of rats to blame when shit hits the fan, I pick up some more runes at another shrine to the Black Parade, which means I can upgrade my furry little disease carriers, so now they have a larger swarm and deal more damage. After half-inching Dr. Hypatia's key from her office, I manage to stealthily make my way to the recuperation area, and after the good doctor reveals Anton's location to me, I feed her to my pets, grab some more runes, and after sneaking past a guard that was too focused on his game of dice, I try to make my escape, and anyone that gets in my way is immediately drowned by a tidal wave of gnashing teeth and diseased flesh. After finally arriving at Megan's location and finding her nice and sober, she sails us back to the dreadful whale. And after some well-needed rest, I make my way to Jimmy Neutron's mansion to rescue Anton. First though, I make a pit stop at another shrine to grab some runes. Then after feeding more guards to my little toe biters, I upgrade my bone charm slots at the local shithole. Then take the tram, and luckily, unlike last time, I don't need to grab the code from the guard station. So after blinking over the gap, I enter the Clockwork mansion and blink through the ceiling to enter the walls, which allows me to pretty much beeline straight to the testing chamber where Anton is being held. But before I save the coffin-dodging prick, I need to take care of the lunatic that owns this gaff. On the way, I manage to find spirit water and use it to craft a bone charm with 4 versions of the same power on, meaning that I effectively have infinite mana now, as there are taps everywhere in this game. Then after using my rats to overload a nearby wall of light, which was conveniently guarding a lift that goes directly to Jindosh's lab, when I get up there, I grant him death by 1,000 rodents. I also find out that the Clockwork soldiers don't attack my swarms, which is nice to know. Then after rescuing the old codger, I backtrack through the way I came in, we take a nice relaxing tram ride, I throw Anton in the trash, and after Megan gives us a lift back to the ship, Delilah tries to manipulate me. But I ignore her. Then Anton and Megan send me to kill Breanna Ashworth. When I arrive on scene, I make my way up to a loft that clickers would call uninhabitable, and half-inch 2 runes from a shrine, which I use to buy Windblast. Not that I'll be able to use it against my next target though, because Breanna Ashworth has some, let's say, defences against the outsider's magic. For example, if you send the rats after her, she turns them against you. So I'm going to have to remove her connection to the void to take her out. Which is easily done, as you just need to fuck around with her oraculum. But before I do that, I decided to feed some witches to my rats. Then I pick up the spare lenses from the attic and replace the ones already in place. When activated, it sucks all the outsider's influence from her body. Then I summon the horde to feast. On my way back, I realise I have enough runes to upgrade the Windblast power. So now chucking people at walls apparently kills them. After returning to the dreadful whale, I awake to find my portrait being painted by the senile twat, who also sends me off to break into the Stilton manor. After dropping me off, I tested out Windblast on these 2 morons, then I met up with Megan, who asks me to choose between killing Paolo or Vice Overseer Byrne. But I already made my decision before he even stepped off the skiff. Paolo hasn't annoyed me during this playthrough, but the Overseers are religious zealots that openly murder people who have been blessed by the emo god, so their leader has to die. After sneaking through their base unseen for once, see, I can be a professional assassin sometimes, I realised before arriving at Byrne's office that using the rats against him was probably a bad idea, since they tend to devour every last morsel of their prey. So when I get in there, I jump down and use Windblast to launch him into a wall, then use the rats to deal with his guards whilst I grab his body and scarp her. After dumping him on Paolo's bar, he gives me the code, and I decided to turn the rest of the Overseers into rat food. After that gory horror show, I head onwards towards my goal. Now, during my escapade into the Stilton Manor, I'm not able to use any powers, so I decided to get in and get out as quick as I can. And I'm damn lucky that I didn't have to kill anyone during this part. Although, after heading into the garden, Aramis Stilton randomly dies after scaring the shit out of him. I have absolutely no idea what caused this. After learning Delilah decided to go down the Horcrux route, I half-inch some runes, upgrade my blink power, head back to the skiff, and when I'm back at the ship, Megan tells me it's time to feed the Duke to my trash hamsters. But before I even think about how I'm going to pull that off, first I need to get to his palace, which is a metric ton easier now that time stops when I use blink. I did make a few stops along the way though to feed the Vermintide. Who am I to deny my pets fresh meat when it's so easily procured? When I finally get to the palace, I'm reminded of just how easy it is to sneak up on the smelly lunatic, because the Duke's palace seems like it was designed for thieves and assassins to break into. Because when I was last here, climbing around on his roof like a homicidal squirrel was easy. When you add the ability to teleport, it becomes child's play. In fact, it took me less than 2 minutes to get from the spawn location to his personal quarters. After he becomes one with the rat race, I unleash the horde on guards and guests alike, including the Duke's body double. Then I half-inch some runes and use them to buy possession. Probably pointless at this stage, but I did it anyway. Then I force Delilah's soul into my dead girlfriend's heart. There's probably some poetry in that, but I'm too dumb to find it. I return to Megan, and now it's time to rescue my daughter and restore the throne. When I make it to Dunwall Castle, I use a Gravehound to sneak past the bitches, and when I get inside, I have something to do before I head up to the throne room to confront the mad wench. I need to make a corrupted rune, because when it comes to killing the foul hag, I've always just stabbed her in the throat, and I'm unsure if she has the same defences as Breanna Ashworth, and this way I have a plan B if shit hits the fan, even if it is a bit anticlimactic. Once I have the rune, I restore power to the lift, sneak past some witches using a rat, then head up to my final destination. After forcing her soul back into her body, I chase her into the painting, and my god, this part took the piss. First off, I tried to just wind blast the real Delilah off the cliff she's conveniently perched on, but she just turns to dust and sends her clones after me. And despite me putting up a good fight, she turns me to stone. But despite me dying, one thing was certain: she could be killed with powers. On my second try, I tried mixing Wind Blast with Devouring Swarm, so the rats would distract them whilst I blasted them to Timbuktu. And unfortunately, I got murdered. But on my third attempt, this worked amazingly, as Delilah's brains turned to mush as she got slammed against a cliff wall. Now that the false empress is feeding the worms, I rescue my daughter, and with that, I beat Dishonored 2 with powers. This was a lot more fun than I thought it would be, because if I'm honest, I thought it was just going to be a cookie cutter Dishonored playthrough just without using standard weapons. But in some cases, it turned out to be more complex than the no powers run, having to think my way around problems instead of just stabbing them. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, why not leave a like and subscribe? It helps out the channel massively. Plus, if you turn on the notification bell, you get to watch more juicy content from yours truly when it releases. If you want to support me further, consider joining as a channel member. You get early access to videos, and a mention in them for being such a legend. If there's a specific video you want to see, or you just want to have a chat, drop a comment down below, and I'll see you next time.